Hello and welcome to today's Google Hangout discussion on the topic of leading innovation, creating transformative technologies. My name is Trupti Jani and I'm accompanied today by my colleagues from Broadcom Corporation. I'll introduce them shortly. We want to thank the IEEE Women in Engineering International Leadership Conference for giving us the opportunity to be part of the virtual portion of this fantastic event. And I want to thank all of you today for participating in this event virtually from all over the world. I hope you find today's discussion very interesting and worthwhile. So the agenda for today's talk is that first all 5 of the panelists will share their experiences to develop innovative technologies. At the conclusion of our presentation, there will be the Q&A session in which I will be taking questions from the audience through Twitter. If any of you viewers out there would like to ask us a question, simply tweet it using the hashtag WeLead. That is hashtag WIELEAD. In case if you're not a Twitter user, you can post your comments, questions using a Google Hangout page that you see as you have logged in to view today's session. So let me introduce myself. My name is Trupti Jani and I work at Broadcom Corporation as IC Design Engineering Manager. I work at a design center that is located near Boston in Massachusetts. In my current role as IC Design Engineering Manager, I manage projects to validate network processor ASICs and SoCs for the compute and connectivity business. I am also a co-chair of North America chapter for Broadcom Women's Network. In my spare time, I volunteer to introduce STEM-related fields to middle school students. As many of you know, Broadcom Corporation is recognized in the semiconductor and industry and beyond as an innovative technology leader. Broadcom holds a company-wide many US and foreign patents. You can imagine all of us panelists work on many different innovative products. Our panel will showcase different facets of innovations that ranges from creating and evolving standards to developing products and breakthrough applications. Panelists will share their personal experiences on creating new technologies and building an environment that fosters innovation. We all would agree that in today's highly competitive world of technology, innovation is vital for the companies to survive. Consumers are constantly looking for new technologies, forcing companies to come up with creative solutions that outsmart the competition. To be leader in innovations, companies are required to cultivate mindsets and teams that are not afraid to fail. There are many phases of product innovation: recognizing problem, finding solution, developing plans to create a solution, implementing a prototype that produces the real example and test it for the expected outcomes, and ultimately scale it up for adaptation in the real world. Each of these phases involves different skill sets and teams to make the idea real and find the solutions with speed that results in return on investment. As you would think that innovation is highly valued, a large majority of innovations fail. What can companies do to be successful in bringing innovative ideas to market and create an edge? Let's hear from our panelists to learn more. First, I would like to invite Karen Schramm, who is VP of Technology and Distinguished Engineer at Broadcom. She will share her experiences on how to create company culture that sparks innovations. Karen?
Thank you, Trupti. As Trupti mentioned, I'm a VP of Technology at Broadcom Corporation. I've been with Broadcom for about 9 years, and currently I lead the architecture team for the compute and connectivity business. As part of my job, I have to pull together people to build the teams that are going to define our products and drive our technology roadmap. I'd like to share 3 points that I've found effective in building teams that will create innovative solutions and products. The 3 points are: it's all about the people, establish rules of engagement, and consensus is good to a point. In my experience, the single biggest factor in a project being successful is the people involved. You want to find and surround yourself with talented people with a really good attitude. And the attitude part of the personality is really critical. You can find somebody who's incredibly talented, they have strong knowledge, they've been working in a field for years, they really have technical skills. However, if they bring a disgruntled attitude, they tend to complain or they don't work well with others, it's often not a good trade, and I don't recommend going that path. I think if you get people who are really motivated and energized to make a project successful, it will make a huge difference in the outcome. It's important to bring together people with diverse backgrounds as well. You're going to get different perspectives from different people who approach the problem differently. If you have somebody who's a designer, bring in somebody who's a user. If you have hardware, bring in software. Mixing together those different perspectives and allowing people to bounce ideas off each other really leads to the most innovative solutions. And it's very easy to get in a comfort zone and work with the same few people that you've worked with for years and your go-to people, and that's important. But get out of your comfort zone. Find somebody new, bring together people that haven't worked together before, and that'll really increase the opportunity for new ideas. My second point is about rules of engagement. It's very important to set up a culture where it's open to discussion and collaboration is the rule. You don't want to have one person dominating the conversation or preventing others from getting their ideas out by kind of poo-pooing them early. Establish some kind of rules. You may use humor, or you may have a little egg timer to limit people or prevent people from interrupting, something that allows everybody to get involved and feel included. Give everybody the opportunity to throw out their crazy ideas and wander down paths that may not seem very productive up front, because sometimes, particularly if you've got people with different backgrounds, somebody will be trying to make a point and you think you get it because you're understanding it from your perspective. But they may be trying to make a subtle point, or there could be a nugget in there that's really going to spark, maybe that idea doesn't pan out, but they're going to spark something in another member of the team. And that kind of early creativity and allowing everybody to get their ideas out is, I think, very important in creating an innovative solution. And my last point is about consensus. I do believe in an open environment and highly collaborative style. And if you can drive the team to consensus, if everybody gets on board and agrees and you've got energy and ownership behind an idea and a project, that's great. It's really going to make everything better and you're going to get everybody's energy up and pushing in the same direction. But if there's an idea that is kind of crazy and new, or it's a little different, or you can't really get everybody behind it, but you believe it's going to make the difference, it's the differentiation you've been looking for, it's okay to overrule and push it through. Make it happen. If you believe in it, you can make a difference. Just drive through and get everybody on board by slowly convincing them and showing them that it'll work, but go with your gut. That's it. Thank you, Trupti.
Thanks, Karen, for sharing your experiences. And as you said, the role of leaders is to establish positive environment that open discussions, encourages crazy ideas, and avoids dominance by individuals. Next, I would like to invite Neta. She is a senior staff engineer at Broadcom, and she will share her experiences in innovative product development. Neta.
Thank you, Trupti. Hi, my name is Neta Retter, and I'm a senior design engineer. I do analog design at Broadcom. I've been with Broadcom for about 10 years, and I'm going to be discussing innovative ideas. So as Karen said, you never know where an innovative idea will come from, but once you have that idea, where do you go with it? How can you come up with a solution and try to solve it and move forward with that idea? So I've found that one of the most important things is to have buy-in from all the involved parties, because you're going to need resources and time, and there will probably be failures. So you want to make sure that you have all of the buy-in that you need. The other thing is to know who to talk to, so who may have related expertise. A lot of times if you can find good resources within your company or outside of your company to discuss the idea with, they can give you a lot of good ideas and also let you know some of the issues or roadblocks that you may run into along the way and kind of help you with that. Another good resource is standards. If there are standards, either for this specific application or something related, a lot of times the standards help. They have stipulations and they'll tell you maybe some of the issues that are coming up or some of the rules that you have to follow. So those are all good places to start when you're trying to address your idea. From there, you get to go to the fun part, which is the design. And when you're working on a design, I think the important thing is to prepare for failure. So whenever possible, you want to give yourself the option to be able to engineer and tweak once the board or the prototype comes back. Something good that you can do to prepare to understand what it really takes to solve the issue is simulation. Simulation is cheaper and much more flexible, so you can use different tools to simulate, such as MATLAB, PSpice. I think whenever possible, simulate as much as possible. From there, you can challenge vendors if you need different components, transformers, relays, whatever hardware application you may need. You can talk to vendors, and based on your simulation, you can tell them exactly what you need and challenge them to meet that requirement. And you would be surprised what vendors can work with you and come up with. If possible, I like to prototype the design because, again, that'll give you a good opportunity to see what is going to happen before you actually cut copper. And that's a good place to solve different problems that you may encounter. So, of course, that's not always possible depending on the speeds that you're working in. But if it is possible, I would highly recommend prototyping. And then finally, you can fabricate your design. And again, wherever possible, depending on the speed that you're working at, if you can leave yourself hooks or different options, maybe footprints, or maybe you have an optional circuit on your board or something like that. But if you give yourself as many options for engineering once the design comes back, then that really helps, because then you have lots of opportunities to tweak without having to go through layout again, which can be costly and time-consuming. And all of these things, again, are preparing you for failure, because with new ideas, you're going to have failures and you're going to have roadblocks, but that's half the fun, because then you can debug and figure it out. So I think as long as you're prepared and everybody who you're working with is prepared for those failures, you'll be able to overcome them and really have a successful idea. And finally, if your idea ends up being successful, consider patenting. Maybe some part of it is a new way to approach an idea or a problem. And so I would highly recommend looking into patents whenever possible. Those are some of my ideas. Good luck with your innovative ideas. And thank you, Trupti.
Thanks, Neta, for sharing ideas on how to solve problems, not to be afraid of failures, and also think of where you may have a potential to file for patents. Thank you. I would like to invite Pat Thaler. She is a Senior Technical Director at Broadcom. She would talk about how to embrace conflict, build consensus, and when you are in planning phase of innovation. Pat?
Hi, I'm Pat Thaler, Senior Technical Director at Broadcom. Part of my work is on standards, developing standards especially for Ethernet. And I'm going to talk about embracing conflict and building consensus. Many see conflict as a negative to be avoided, but it can be used positively. It can help you develop ideas, discover and fix flaws, and create stronger solutions. A standards project often starts with conflict. People come into the meeting from different companies, from different countries, different skill sets, and they often have differing goals, different assumptions. Sometimes the assumptions are unstated or even unrealized by the people, and they have different areas of expertise. To develop a successful standard, you need to find a positive way to work with conflict. First off is to focus on ideas, not on people. So it's fine to criticize somebody else's idea, to explain why you think it doesn't work, to question what the conditions were that a test was done in, what assumptions were being made. That's fine, but it's not okay to criticize the person. As a leader of a standards project, it's important to make sure that people follow that rule and that the tone stays positive. Another thing is to explore the underlying assumptions. Listen for hidden agendas, but don't assume that people have hidden agendas and that drives all their actions. But if you can, sometimes if you can find a reason behind why somebody is resisting a proposal, that can help with making a proposal that everybody can come together on. And then another thing is realize that people may not understand an idea the first time. When I first started in standards work, sometimes I would propose something, and if it didn't get acceptance right away, I would drop it, and then I'd see that somebody else would bring it up, and having it brought up a second or third time, people start to warm to an idea. People often don't understand an idea the first time it's presented. They have to think about it and get used to the new idea, and so it's important to be willing to revisit ideas. There was a recent article, a study on why literary magazines, have fewer women being published than men, and one of the things they found was that women didn't resubmit rejected articles and men did at a much higher percentage. So especially as women, we need to remember to be persistent, and there's a time when you've tried over and over and it's time to move on, but don't let the first rejection of an idea discourage you. Try more than once. Anyway, if you put those ideas together, you can deal positively with conflict, even learn to enjoy solving that puzzle and getting people to form a consensus and lead positive groups that have conflict and work through it.
Thanks, Pat. As you said, team leaders need to continuously deal with contentious discussions and find the balance among all the team members. And also, one needs to be persistent if they think that their idea has a value. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite Rozi Roufoogaran. She is a senior IC design engineering manager, and she will join us and talk us about how to lead innovative teams. Rozi?
Thanks, Trupti. My name is Rozi Roufoogaran, and I'm a senior manager of IC design at Broadcom. I come from an RF circuit design background, and I did that for a very many years, 10 years, and then became a manager. I have a group of people directly reporting to me, a group of engineers, and I also lead projects where more people indirectly report to me. And when I get a project, I get a deadline, very aggressive, but we have to stay innovative. We have to stay on top of the market. We have to be competitive solution. So it's a challenge between how to deliver and also be innovative. The one thing we learned is it's easy to assign the same person on the same project and the same block. Let them do the work, but it's not necessarily the most innovative way because you don't bring in new ideas. So like Ken previously mentioned, we should be open to that. I think when you get a project, we analyze where we want to be innovative, where we want to be aggressive. And those are the blocks that sometimes you decide whether we need a more experienced designer, or we can bring a fresh idea, not only train a new person, but also get new, fresh ideas. You can sync up a new designer, sometimes a new graduate, with a mentor, whereas the experienced designer can mentor the junior designer. This is a mutual benefit where both parties can learn from each other. You train a new person, but you also bring in new, fresh ideas, new look at the problem. So this seems to be working well. You can also break the project into sections where you can put more junior and more experienced designers, or new designers with a more experienced designers in part of a project to work together. That also have the same benefit of mutual benefit between the groups. The other thing I want to emphasize, which I think Karen kind of mentioned as well, is ownership of the project. Engineers like to own their own piece. They're innovative people. They're very bright people. So when you give them the ownership of the block, they do the best. They become innovative. They understand the part of the system. They have to get it to work, and that seems to be working very well in a teamwork as well. Thanks, Trupti.
Thanks, Rosie. That was very insightful, and as you have led many teams, you know that the team environments that provides challenging assignments and mutual learning is very important. And also bringing up junior people, with mentors and who have more experience, and that is how you're creating future innovators. Thank you. To this, I would like to talk about making the ideas real. Anyone can come up with ideas, but how well you execute on to make it real will determine the success. One phase of the innovative product development is executions of plan activities. Making it real means it is scalable, marketable, and provides a solution that creates value for consumers. To make ideas real, I will talk about three things: collaboration, efficiency, and mindfulness. Collaboration between different functional teams is very important. You need to find the people with the right expertise to execute on plan. You need to believe in your execution plan and make others believe in it too. You need to be patient and be ready to fail many times before it is real. Continuous feedback based on experiments is required to make the original idea better. Another factor is to make innovative product is efficiency. Efficiency is required to make it real in timely manner and not remain stuck in a loop. How do you have an efficient development while you are innovative? Many good ideas fail because they are not executed well or took long time, and competition has beaten you to the market. Leaders who are responsible for execution on implementation needs to make sure it is efficient. Sometimes processes may also help or hinder, and we need to find the balance in this. And the last point I would like to make is that the leaders need to focus that to remain mindfulness about the work-life balance for the team to kind of work creatively and increase their productivity. Leaders need to be mindful to give them the room to be breathe, and in turn they will find that the team's creativity and productivity will increase. So to summarize, making the ideas real into products requires collaboration, efficiency, and continuous improvements as leaders execute on plan. Passionate, focused, and mindful leaders bring teams together and make it fun. So now we would like to open up for the questions from audience. So if you have questions, please either post it on Twitter using a handle #WeLead, WIELEAD, or you can post it on a chat window that is on the Google page as you signed in. So please go ahead and send us your questions. So here we have first question. What leaders can do to get more people involved in the innovation project? Rosie, would you like to answer that?
Sure. I believe it comes down to how you run a project. If you make a reputation of yourself of being open and how you deal with conflicts and how you listen to the group. I think it really comes down to that it's going to be conflicts between people. And a lot of times in not a bad way. I mean, it's engineers coming up with the greatest ideas, and sometimes you don't agree. It's how you solve those conflicts. And sometimes people become personal. They're really behind their ideas, and they strongly believe in it, and there's conflict. So it's how you listen to the both sides of the parties and how you make a decision, because at the end, the project lead has to make a decision and go forward. Otherwise, nothing gets done. And so that's, to me, that's one of the most important items. And then also how you make a reputation of yourself of being open in the group. And so I'll like to see what Karen has to say, because she also mentioned a bit about conflicts in the groups. Karen, can you also join in this question, please?
Sure. I think there's a number of things you can do, and including you might put together some lunchtime sessions or a Friday afternoon talk and bring your project out to the broader group of people in your organization, or invite people in from other companies on a Friday afternoon and hold a session. Have a presentation on what you're working on and bring others, invite them to have suggestions and throw out ideas, and people will often go off and think about it and come back with some new thoughts. You can get a lot of people involved through lunchtime sessions, brown bag lunch. And another idea is to run a little contest. Suppose you're really struggling with one particular area and you're looking for just a list of ideas to try out and throw around. Put together a little contest in your office, involve people, have a small prize or just a King of the Lab day, and just get more people involved.
Thanks, Karen.
Trupti?
Yes, thank you, Karen. So we also have a next question. One is how to build a network of innovation champions. Who would like to take it? Pat?
Sure, I'll take it. So networking and knowing what different people's specialties are, what kind of they're particularly good at is important. And then when something comes up that you need help with, that you need somebody to contribute to, you can reach out to them personally and talk to them about the problem, see if you can get them interested in a solution of it. You know, over the years, you get to work with a lot of people, and you tend to know who's good at what, and develop relationships with those people, so you can call on their help when you need it.
That's good. Thanks.
You know, and I can add to what Pat said, which is something that I personally don't always do so well at, which is when you're traveling or when you have free time or make free time, to go talk with other people in the organization, you know, when you don't need help, when you just want to hear what they're talking about or hear what they're up to. And if you think about it, if you're sitting in your office and someone stopped by and filled you in on what they've been working on, it would be welcome. You'd love to hear about it. So step out and build a relationship with other key people in your company and other peers in the industry. Just have lunch. Build up that network by just sharing what's going on. You know, you may think what you're doing is not interesting. It's often because you're so familiar with it, and other people are frequently, you know, happy to learn more about what's going on, and that's how you can develop your network, by just talking with people whenever you get an opportunity. Go to lunch, meet people for breakfast.
That's true. You're right. You know, go out and meet new people and increase your network. Put yourself out there so people know about it. So we have one more question. What kind of skills are required to lead innovation? Rozi, would you like to take that?
Sure. I think the first question was how to get people involved, and now it's how to lead it. So it's again, I believe if you want to lead innovation, you have to be open. Companies in general, if they want to lead innovations, or it's people who want to, or leaders who want to lead innovation, they have to make sure that they're open to listen to new ideas. It's easy for an engineer because most of us as innovative leaders have engineering background, so we come with our own ideas. If you can open up and go beyond that and be open to accepting that somebody might have a different skills and different point of view that might be better than you, as a leader, you have to understand that your team could be better than you. I mean, you want to encourage people to be better than you, and I believe that being open-minded and give the freedom is very important. Pat, do you want to add to this?
Sure. Very good points, Rosie. I also think that an important thing is to be a cheerleader some of the time. Sometimes you get people who worry a lot, people who are nervous about, can we get this done, can we make this schedule, and you need to listen to those valid points, but you also need to encourage people to see this as something that can be done, and to build that enthusiasm that, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to make this happen. A positive attitude, even in the face of difficulties, is important for a leader.
I think just to add to that point, I think from the engineering side, something that's very helpful is don't take no for an answer. So, you know, if you really believe in an idea and you start to work on it, if you can continue to push it and really champion your idea, then that could be really helpful. And then also finding the right people who will believe in you and who'll be able to help you. I think that, you know, as an engineer, you can help lead those ideas, especially if you get people on board, like Rosie, who will stand behind you.
That sounds good. So we have one more question from our viewers today. It is, if you could hire 5 more people for your team, what unconventional skills would they have to foster innovation, and why you think so? Karen, would you like to answer that?
Sure, I'll take a shot. 5 more people. Unconventional skills. I would say if I could bring in somebody whose whole job was to facilitate and make the meetings more fun, like a morale officer, I think that would be great. You know, in engineering, we tend to get very focused on solving the technical problems and on meeting schedules, and it can get very intense. And so balancing that out with making sure that the days and the meetings are fun and exciting, I think that's really important. So I think definitely, you know, so latent comedian who'd like to bring some fun into the day and keep everybody involved would be a great idea. I think also in my job, we can work with clients and customers occasionally, but having somebody involved who really was a user, who had no technical knowledge, didn't really care how it worked, but really was just concerned with how am I using this product, what problem is this solving for me, having that present on a day-to-day basis would also be very helpful.
Karen, I have to agree with you. I had to answer this question, and I think I completely agree with you. You need somebody to break the ice. You get to these meetings, and it's long, and it's we deal with very stressful times. You face a problem, and that one person that just makes the hardest thing to a joke and makes everybody laugh. It's a skill to have, and I can't agree with more with that that item. I know we haven't come up with 5 that was requested, so anybody else wants to jump in, but that's what I had to agree with you on that.
I would add to this is one another thing I have seen is that as far as the skills, people need to kind of feel uncomfortable sometimes and try to go out of their comfort zone and seek for challenges. So that is one skill I think that I would really feel that you know, innovative people or the people, if I would like to hire, I would look for somebody who is constantly seeking challenge, and not only that, you know, not always try to remain in the comfort zone. So next question we have from our viewer is that what motivates you to be creative and generate innovative ideas? So can somebody take a stab at this?
Yes, I'll take that, Trupti, at least kick it off. So for me, a big part of it is really seeing those ideas get out there and be real and be used and change people's lives. So when I started working on networking, it was something that only existed in big company enterprise situations and research labs. And we finished the 10-base-T standard, which will date me somewhat, and that's the first time we started seeing networking move out into homes and small businesses when I was taking my son to look at colleges, and we had people in dorms talking about, well, we've got it wired for Ethernet, and we've got one drop per dorm room, but we're trying to get so we have one drop per pillow, so that everybody can have their own Ethernet connection. And that really made an impact on me. We really changed the way people worked and played and studied. And then to see the growth over the years in networking. Now we're working on automotive Ethernet and industrial Ethernet, on getting Ethernet to replace the many wires in the cars so that the cars can be lighter and more efficient, and to help better run the machines and do the real-time communications. So to me, that's really the motivating thing, is that that we make a difference to the way people work and to their lives.
And I'll just add to that, Pat, that's amazing, by the way. Thank you. I appreciated the the Ethernet at every pillow when I was in college. So I think that something that has really helped me and motivated me is when you see a problem and then you try to approach a solution and you actually see it in production. So I started working on DECT phones and voice over IP, and they all seemed so out there when I first started at Broadcom. At least to me, it didn't seem like something that would ever actually happen, or something that you would see in your home. And then all of a sudden you're working on it and working on it, and like Karen, I think, mentioned, when you're working on something specific, you're so far into it that it doesn't seem practical, or you don't necessarily see the big picture in that moment. And then all of a sudden you walk into the store and you see that every modem is sold with voice over IP, and you're like, wow, I helped create that. So I think for me it's a combination of two things. It's seeing a problem and trying to think of a way to address it, and then a year or two down the line you actually see it out in the real world, and it's amazing to see, and it motivates you to think that these things that sound so impossible when you start working on them 2 or 3 years down the line are something you take for granted and something that everyone uses. I think the next question that we have is, what motivates you to... Oh, Trupti, did you want to present the next question? I think you were still on mute.
Sure, go ahead, no problem. So I wanted to add to that question about, what motivates you and how do you become, innovative. So like you mentioned, seeing your idea become real motivates. It becomes like, it's not just hard work, you are seeing the results of it and how it makes other people to make their life easier. So definitely it's a big motivator. So next question we have is that who are your personal influences? So viewers would like to hear from all of us. So if I would say, just take 1 minute or so and tell us about who your personal influencer is. So Karen, would you start?
Sure. The person who had the biggest influence on my life was a high school teacher who probably doesn't know it, but he took 3 gals to a women in engineering school for 1 day on my junior year, and I decided I would be an engineer. So he doesn't know that I'm now a VP of technology, I'm quite sure, but I'm very excited about it. And it just goes to show you that a small effort, a little bit of time invested in individuals can go a real long way.
My personal influence, my grandfather is actually an electrical engineer, and my dad is an electrical engineer. So I'm a 3G, I'm a 3rd generation engineer, and I took 1 course in college, and I had a really great professor who was very encouraging. And so I think the combination of my dad and my grandpa and having really great professors really pushed me to try engineering and enjoy it. Pat?
Well, there have been so many, it's difficult to choose. who to talk about, but I will say when I was in college and I met some of the women engineers through the Society of Women Engineers and saw that was certainly very inspiring. I remember one mechanical engineer who was talking about getting called into the dean's office because she was wearing pants on campus, which in, I guess, 20 years before I went to school in the 50s, that was something you weren't allowed to wear if you were a woman. And she explained that she was working in this lab that was 2 levels and had a wire mesh floor on the 2nd level so that you could yell down to the person below, and she got an exemption. So there were really people who went before us who had a much harder time at it. And I have an aunt who was a chemical engineer as well. And then when I first started working, Don Lockery, who had worked in IEEE standards for many years before, he was the chair of 802.3, and I watched how he chaired and ran the group and learned a lot from watching him and the other leaders running groups before I started running a group on my own. Anybody else?
I guess we're all going one at a time. So I have to say, for me, it's my family. I can't even mention any of them without mentioning the other. But from my parents who worked hard and gave up everything, their lives to send their kids to the U.S. I come from a I guess we immigrated from Iran to U.S. So first of all, my parents, probably the biggest influence on how much they really focused on educating their kids, and it was always education at the top of the list, and that resulted in my brother and sisters, electrical engineers and physicians, doctors, and talking about electrical engineering in this case, my brother and sister probably have more than actually for sure they have more than 500 plus patents, and so I always had my whole family to always look up to. The last of the kids, and I don't think I can ever catch up with them. So that's been a great motivator.
Thanks, Rozi. So for me, it's my father who believed in me and who always pushed me that I should go to Germany and become a space engineer. And so nobody in my hometown as a girl ever joined an engineering college, and he really pushed me for that. And so he has been a very big influence for me. So we have a next question. What is the best way to manage an innovation portfolio? Who would take that? Maybe Pat?
Okay. I'm not quite so sure about that one. I think part of it is to know what you want to do. I mean, there's often a lot of ideas and a lot of good ideas, but how do you put them into a solution that really will meet needs and get out there into the marketplace? So it's understanding what the customer needs are, where there's a gap to be filled, and then coming up with a way to join those ideas into an actual product is important. So laying down objectives, this is what we need to do, and making sure everybody's on board and understands the objectives is an important piece.
Thanks, Pat. So we have one more question. What tips would you give to graduate students who are transitioning from academia to the workforce, like a corporate culture? Neta, would you take that?
Sure. So I've done a bit of recruiting for Broadcom in the past, and I think a few things that can be really helpful. I think as a graduate student, you get a lot of really great experience and very interesting experience, but it's typically in one, as you get deeper and deeper into your research, it can be in one very narrow field. So I think that if you can try to do some research or look into different kind of more general, more kind of real world problems, I would say, then that can give you something interesting to talk about in addition to your research, and that can make you more marketable. Also, I think if you can get your foot in the door, so if while you're in school, if you can get some kind of internship, because for a company to hire you as an intern, it's a much smaller risk and it's much easier to get in the door. So I think that a lot of times what I found is graduate students or even undergraduate students would wait until almost their senior year or the end of their senior year to try to get a job. And then you have to hire someone full-time, which is a huge kind of leap for a company to take because that's a big commitment. If you can come in a year or two before and get an internship, you'll have a much easier time getting in the door, and then you'll have some practical experience. But I think in general, you know, go to the career fairs. Don't take no for an answer. I said I've been at Broadcom for 10 years. I applied to Broadcom 3 ways. I went to 2 career fairs, and I found someone inside. So I think, you know, back to Pat's point, we tend to take no for an answer. We hear no and we walk away. Don't hear no. Go back. Ask why. You know, come to career fairs. Talk to people. Talk to people on LinkedIn. Send them messages, and maybe someone will reply to you. And all of these different conferences, you can meet a lot of people and network and talk to them. And you know, you just need one person to take a chance on you, and so you can prove yourself.
That last one is a good point. I, even as an experienced engineer, when I was looking for where to get my next job, I applied particularly at Broadcom and at one other company where I targeted. And at that other company, I sent a resume to one colleague there, and he circulated it around, and I didn't get any bites. And then I sent the resume again through another colleague, and it was funny, the number of people who said, yeah, they saw the resume the first time, but I guess you know, it wasn't a good time to hire. They were busy with other things. Somebody didn't pick it up and set up an interview. And then the second time, it happened, and I did end up getting an offer from that company as well as from Broadcom. So, you know, trying once didn't do it, but then seeing their resume come across their desk at maybe a better time, or because it was the second time they saw it, I'm not sure what kind of kicked it off, but having circulated it a second time got me the interview and the job offer.
Thanks, Ben.
I was going to also say that another thing to do when you do get into a company as transitioning from academia, definitely try to find a mentor, maybe more than one, but somebody that you can work with who has experience. One of the big shifts from going from academia into the industry is you're going to find yourself under schedule pressure, and you need to understand what the expectations are, and then work with the people who've been there a while, identify people who you collaborate well with, and get some help.
Thanks, Karen. So we have one more question. What are good overall goals to include in an innovation strategy? Karen, would you take it?
Sure. I think sitting down up front at the beginning of a project is identifying what you want to do. You set down what you're trying to achieve with the project, and try to start with some guidelines. But then don't be frozen to those guidelines. You may think that you're heading to solve one specific problem, and you can stumble upon other ideas, so you want to be able to be a little dynamic in setting up your goals. But I just think if you know what you're trying to accomplish, you start in a direction, recognize where you're trying to innovate. Maybe it's a brand new technology like 10-base-T, or maybe it's an efficiency. Maybe you're trying to lower power, and some innovative way to reduce the power in a system can be just as important as offering a new feature. So figure out where you're trying to head, and then be a little flexible in adjusting as you learn along the way.
I would add one more thing to that is as a part of your innovation strategy, be prepared to be failed. You know, failure, yes, is going to bring success, and be patient with that. So it should be part of the strategy to be ready for failure and then come up with better solution. So that concludes our question session. Thank you all for posting your questions. I know we don't have enough time, so we will have to wrap it up. If you have further questions, feedback, comments, please post it on IEEE, the VLEAD or VILC website, and we would answer it through that. So this concludes our Hangout session today, and thank you for your time and participation. And again, I would like to thank IEEE's Women in Engineering ILC International Leadership Conference for giving us this opportunity to bring you today's session. It was a pleasure. Have a great day, everyone. And if you like to provide feedback, go ahead and post it on the V website. Thank you.